Good morning, REC Nation. Welcome to the Brunch with REC. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and for those who are watching on the recording. My name is Tyler, and I am in our real estate coaching division. So everyone has seen Jazz and Simeon's segment, which they go over more of the macro scale of real estate. They go over the different trends, different types of opportunities we're noticing investors get into, as well as they speak to service providers and economists just to really dive deep into the trends that we're noticing in the market, or the way it's moving anyways. What I do, my segment is called Real Stories from Real Investors, where I highlight some of our REC insiders' portfolios, their investments, their successes, their challenges, how they have overcame those challenges. And we've had some great discussions so far this year. And I'm very excited for this particular segment because we have an investor, a business owner, Lisa Otway, joining us, and she is a dear friend of REC Canada. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Let's bring her on screen, Stephen.
Good morning,
Hi, Lisa.
Tyler. Hi,
Good morning.
Tyler. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really I'm grateful. Thanks.
And it's a beautiful day. I always feel like doing the Brunch with RECs in the summers, you get a little bit more motivation. I'm looking outside, you see people walking, the sun is shining, it's warm. Whereas the winter is a little bit harder to get that energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've had a great summer so far. A little bit on the dry side, but other than that.
Yeah, it's been very nice. I've been out with the kids a lot, and Nora has now discovered the scooter, as I was telling you backstage, and all she's doing right now is, Daddy, scooter, just trying to get the door unlocked just so she can go on the scooter. And she just turned 2, and she's actually incredibly good for 2 years old. I was very surprised, and maybe it's just not seeing a 2-year-old on the scooter before, but she's just going down hills, and she's just fearless. And it's something we should all aspire to be a little bit more fearless like that.
Very much so. And you want to encourage that too, right? So it's awesome.
Good. Yeah. A little bit. Sometimes you're holding back what you actually want to say, which is be careful, because they need to learn, and they need to have fun with it too and explore.
They do.
The reason why I wanted to bring you on, Lisa, and again, thank you so much for joining us, is because your portfolio is, it's very interesting, right? And where you invest, how you invest, the types of opportunities that you get into, and I'm really looking forward to, diving deep into your portfolio. And kind of before I go over some of the opportunities that you've invested in yourself, I always like to ask, why did you get into investing?
So, it's interesting. So I have my investment partner, Grace, and the two of us, longtime friends. We raised our family together. We always wanted to get into business together. Yeah. So we tried a couple, blue skying, coming up with ideas. Nothing really stuck. And then we met with Grace's uncle, who was very active in the real estate world. And he says, I'll quote him, he says, "You gals need to get into real estate." So he kind of lit the fire under us. So we knew very little. I mean, we owned our own homes, and things. But other than that, we didn't really know a lot of it from the investment side.
Yeah.
So we decided to get educated, and we joined a community of real estate and investors who educate. They're there to provide support, and that's how we met Jazz and Simeon and a whole bunch of our contacts. It's been just a wonderful ride.
That's
how we got into it.
And that was the Keyspire group, right?
It was Keyspire, absolutely. And we're still active members. It has been an amazing ride, and like I said, we keep stretching, we keep learning. So it's been fabulous. So
I think one of the things that groups like Keyspire do really well is that they create the platform for you to have a voice, for you to network with others and really learn from one another in regards to the types of opportunities and some of the challenges that people overcame. Sometimes it's learning what someone did wrong, and just so you can maybe not necessarily make that mistake, but you can also just kind of learn from other people's mistakes and their successes. And it's really like we have a summit coming up. I think it's at the end of September. Jazz was telling me that yesterday, but it's nice to have that space because I find that investors, they want to talk about their portfolio. They want to collaborate and bounce ideas off of one another, and it's a good space to be part of. It's very very encouraging.
Very much so. Yeah.
So in regards to these opportunities, what you and Grace, when you sat down and you had an idea of, okay, we're going to go into real estate investing, what types of opportunities were you originally thinking about investing into?
So it was like drinking from a fire hose, right? You're just now being immersed into a whole new world that you didn't even know existed. So we learned about the various channels, opportunities. So we did a little bit of everything. So we invested in pre-sale condos. We did some passive investing. We did some land development. And at the time, they were mortgages that we invested in. Legislation has changed, so they've now become REITs. But we kind of did a little bit of everything. So
nice.
It's been fabulous.
So you laid a pretty good foundation then for your investing. You just kind of had a little bit of your funds in a few different types of asset classes.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
That's great. And joint venture, investing with a joint venture partner, I'm sure there are definitely some challenges when it comes to getting everybody on the same page. I find it's probably, I would imagine, a little easier when it's only two parties involved compared to three or four. But kind of run me through in regards to more of these active investments. When you were creating your joint venture partnership with Grace, and we're definitely going to have Grace on the Brunch with REC coming up in the next few months. So Grace, if you're listening, I can't wait to speak with you as well and get your point of view. But in regards to the joint venture structureship, what was the process of kind of building that team there?
So again, I mean, it was daunting. I mean, we knew very little about it, but again, Keyspire was amazing and just a wealth of knowledge. So they had a template, a JV agreement in the form of a template. And we adopted that as sort of the basis, and then we ended up customizing it. So one of the biggest things going in with our eyes wide open between Grace and myself was we didn't want to compromise the friendship. This was a business transaction, end of story. So we had to put some very strict boundaries around the business and how we made decisions. For us, the exit strategy was one of the biggest ones, because if one of us wanted to liquidate and the other one didn't, no hard feelings, no whatever. So we gave it some long and hard thinking. And that was one of the main things that we ended up putting into our agreement.
Which is exit strategies.
Absolutely. We both agreed to it. God forbid something were to happen to either one of us, what would happen there? Because we were asking all these questions. And we came up with a pretty robust JV agreement. We had it reviewed by a lawyer because, again, we're not lawyers.
Yep.
And the only thing, so it's funny, at one point, he looked at it, again, one of our REC contacts looked at it and he says, I can't even charge you on this. I mean, all I'm doing is I'm putting boilerplate verbiage. I mean, you ladies did it all. So no,
that's great.
So we were blown away.
That's really good.
It is. Yeah. And so that is the foundation of virtually any transaction that we enter in jointly, we sign an agreement for that property. So,
and I always, and I'm sure this is what you and Grace did, I speak with potential joint venture partners a lot, and I always just draw a line in the middle of the page and say, okay, what do you bring to this? What would you like to bring to this investment?
Yes.
JV partner two, what would you like to bring to this investment? And I think having one conversation more joint venture or potential joint venture partners need to have is the exit strategy. Yeah. No matter what, for example, I always find 3 to 5 year rules. So no matter what, let's hold the property for 3, 4, 5 years. And then at that point, let's go make a decision. and let's just reevaluate. Do we push the goalpost a little bit? Are we okay to let it go? Take our proceeds? And then in regards to investing with your joint venture partner Grace, did you end up opening an incorporated company then with it, and you're purchasing through a corporation?
So that's a good question. That's $1 million question. Knowing what we know now, I think we would have done things a little bit differently. When we sought advice from our accountant, they had asked what strategy we were looking at. And at the time it was single family, like single one bedroom condos is really what we were, looking at. Pre-sales, putting down some money and then, having it appreciate and, buying ourselves some time. So the recommendation at the time, and we bought into it. This is, not, but in hindsight, the liability associated with a one bedroom was very low. And we purchased insurance for it. So the recommendation was don't incorporate, just do it personally. Okay, so that's great. So we hit a wall when we're trying to finance property number 5. Because we've maxed out, the debt ratios, yada, yada, yada. So, and to go back and place the existing, our current assets in a corporation would have cost us a lot because you're incurring land transfer. So anyway, again, the education has been incredible. And like I said, had we known this, we probably would have ended up incorporating, but we have not. Okay.
Yeah. So and there's, there's two sides of the coin, right? There's challenges involved with incorporating as well, right? You have a higher interest rate. Sometimes you have to put more down.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's, you don't know what you don't know until you go through this and until you invest and actually jump in.
It's so true.
But I like the strategy though of diversifying in different types of opportunities. It seems like you and Grace wanted something that was a little bit more passive. More hands off. I invest in condos as well, and the reason being is the management is a lot less. Your maintenance fees cover the majority of the day-to-day management, and I just check in with my tenants, right? And here and there every few months and see how everything is. Drop off a bottle of wine at Christmas, and just make sure that they have that partnership or that ability to reach out to myself and my wife whenever they need to. And
absolutely,
it seems that that's what you would like to do. So in regards to locations of investing, what types of markets have you invested in?
So we're still Canadian. So we and we were actually split between Ontario and BC. Again, through the Keyspire community, we had met one of someone similar to Jazz, Cameron. Shout out to Cameron. And so we have. So we bought 2 properties out in BC, and we're waiting on our third. And
they're condos.
They're condos, so they're pre-construction, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And even that was a gut-wrenching decision. Do we go with 2 bedrooms? Do we do Well, we took the plunge. We talked to some of the experts, and so we did the 1 bedroom, and no regrets. We have no downtime at all. People are coming in, and we bought high-end ones as well. So we're catering to a certain niche community. But so we've got the ones out in BC, and we ended up with the Ontario as well through REC. So we've got one in Toronto. We purchased a student rental, so that was a bit of a departure for us from our portfolio strategy. A student rental in KW that was doing extremely well. And cash flowing and amazing opportunity. And then we got hit with COVID. So it was doing really well for about 2.5 years. And then we had to pretty much carry it for 1.5 years. I mean, we didn't have any students.
It was tough, especially in Waterloo, right? And that I went to University of Waterloo, and that's all that's kind of in that area, which is
it is. Absolutely. Students. And these were all students that ended up going home and studying virtually. A lot of the foreign students went back home, so it just dried up. So we ended up carrying it, right? We actually brought in another one of our good friends, so that was a 3-way joint venture partnership. And again, we had all the foundation, the JV agreement, the roles and responsibilities, the frequent meetings that we would have. So we had that infrastructure in place, carried it for 4 years. At the end of 4 years, that was the exit strategy was at the renewal of the mortgage, we'll reassess whether to keep it or not. And we chose not to. We chose to sell. We didn't sell at a loss. We broke even. It's not necessarily what you want to do in real estate, but we didn't lose, right? We broke even.
Yeah, and it was tough, right? Especially with the the lack of tenants. The global pandemic, and something with student housing is that it is a very secure investment because the tenant pool is there. And something like the everything shutting down is unfortunate, but the market itself now in Waterloo is coming back in regards to rents. I think you can get like per door now, it's gone up. When I was there, it was $425 a door. But so that's what I was paying for rent, and now I think it's gone up to about $750 a door.
It is. And, there was a period, so towards the end, so from January 2021 to April, when the doors were sort of opening up for, we're getting offers as high as $950 per door. Which was incredible. It was just insane because, again, the schools called everybody back. All these students were scrambling for accommodation, and we pretty much stuck to our our 750, 800, and that lasted for another 4 or 5 months, and then at that point we decided to sell.
Hey, you know what? It's on to other types of opportunities. And especially because you were saying about the financing wall, anyways.
Yes.
With these upcoming condos, how many pre-construction condos have been completed at this point? From the ones that you've purchased.
Sorry, you cut out. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi, but how many?
How many of the pre-construction condos have actually closed at this point?
So we've got 3 that have closed, another one that is closing at the end of this year. And I'm going to mention something because, for anybody who's new to investing, we had contracts with 2 other ones in the Toronto area through REC. And for various reasons, they did not go forward. So they canceled the contracts, which is, at first we thought, what? We were just, so the first one returned our money with interest, which was amazing. And the second one returned our deposit. We didn't lose anything. What you're losing is the opportunity loss of the time in the market.
The time. Right? Yeah. And you try your best to do the due diligence, but unfortunately, sometimes with cost of actually developing, sometimes developers just, they're just not in the position. But it's one kind of good safety net is that you don't lose the money. You just lose the time. So you have some of them that are closed in BC versus Ontario. Do you find that the tenant profile is different?
We no, because as I mentioned earlier, we tend to buy higher end units. So we're looking at young professionals. We're looking at people who are single. One of our tenants is divorced and was looking for a place, and our place just suited him immeasurably. So he's been there for 3 years. Not a problem ever. So young professionals, single people, young couples, that are moving in. Yeah. So that's our profile.
Whether it's the ones who are renting the 1 bedrooms.
Yes.
Units.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. And then what about the roles or the rights of landlords Ontario compared to BC? Do you have one that you favor in regards to the regulations?
So BC is very tenant slanting, very much so. I find Ontario's more fair to both the landlord and the tenant, whereas in BC it is very slanted towards the tenant. And so you need to know that going in. You need to put everything on paper that is blessed by the province. You don't deviate from any of the agreements other than what is from the Rent Tenancy Board. But again, amazing that we're educated, we're instructed with just the contacts that we have. Our realtors are Yeah, our property managers are, so absolutely. Yeah. No.
I find that before you jump in the market, you have to go through, the rights of landlords, the rights of
Mhm.
tenants.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
for example, in I think it was New Brunswick, they just changed they just capped the amount that you can actually change rents,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that was something that investors were using as their advantage.
Yes.
But now I think it was last year, maybe it was early this year when they put the cap in, and
Hmm.
I understand why
Yes.
they have done that, right? Especially to
Hmm.
protect tenants, but
Yes.
it's something to note though, because if someone was looking to get into New Brunswick because of that reason, if you're not informed, even what happens in the last few weeks
Yeah.
with legislation changes,
Yeah.
it could change your
Very
strategy.
much.
It can change your return,
Yes. Yes.
especially multifamily in that side, right?
Yes.
So when you want to increase the rents,
Very
just
much so.
to recoup or to capitalize on some returns there.
Yeah.
Um, so what's next in regards to investing? What types of opportunities are you thinking about getting into next?
So we've given it some serious thought, and right now both of us in our personal lives are really busy. I mean, we've both become grandmothers. We're looking at
Congratulations.
retiring. Thank you. But we do want to continue with a slightly different strategy, and looking at possibly duplexes or triplexes or multifamily.
Yeah.
But we need to really give that some serious thought, because it brings a whole host of other um, items that you've got to consider, right? So we're not going to be able to do it alone. Do we do a corporation under this? So we've got to do a lot of due diligence before we're ready to open up the doors.
Yeah.
But I think that's our next step to get into
Uh,
multifamily.
there's a there's a whiteboard not in the shot right now, but it's funny that you're talking about potentially doing more active investing, because I have a list of our REC insiders who are out and looking for these types of opportunities right now. It's more hands-on
Mhm.
investments
Mhm.
with the market shift, and
Yeah.
everybody listening right now has been, I'm sure, keeping an eye on what's going on in the market, but
Mhm.
what I've noticed anyway, since February to now, we've seen a drop in price. And this is a
Mhm.
blanket statement because every market's
Yes.
different. But in the
Yep.
GTA,
Yep.
we've seen a drop in price to over 200,000 on average for
Mhm.
turnkey duplexes from February to now.
Yeah.
And on the other side, and I know Jazz and Simeon touched on this last time, but because of the lack of buyer presence, more renters are trying to find properties. They're not going to be buying. They're just trying to jump into the at least for a year,
Mhm.
2 years, just to wait it out. But what that is doing, Lisa, it's creating a huge demand for rentals right now, and we've
Mhm.
seen 10% plus month over month increases in rental prices.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
the lower cost of entry in tandem with the higher rental prices, there's
Yeah.
some good cash flowing opportunities right now.
There is. Yeah.
And with the amount of inventory on the market, we can finally negotiate. And that's something that, you and I both as investors I've been very excited about, and seeing our investors tie up properties. We can actually put in a financing condition now. We can put
Yes.
in a home inspection condition now. We're not competing with 25
Absolutely.
buyers.
Oh my gosh.
And
Absolutely.
I love it, especially with the the condos that you have in your portfolio. It's nice to now add a little bit of cash flow there,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
then what I imagine anyways is you're kind of self-enclosing
Mhm.
your portfolio now. You're allowing the cash flow to help with some potential negative cash flow or vacancy from the
Exactly.
condos,
Yeah.
and the condos are appreciating by obviously the passive appreciation, but also paying off the principal,
Yes.
and your system's kind of working for itself.
It is, and what we're finding also is that the ones that we currently have are building up equity, so that we can
Oh
start
yeah,
tapping into that, right?
yeah.
We can tap into that to start financing some of our other ones. So
Oh, for sure.
yeah, so yeah, our ears to the ground all the time. We know that renters are increasing. That the demand for rental units is increasing. Yeah, so our natural, and I'm sure a lot of people have had the same thought process. Our pathway right now is let's take a look at some maybe smaller-ish, because we're still a little bit nervous. maybe 6, 8 units.
Yeah.
What I'm also hearing is that
that's not small by any means, though. It's a big
no,
jump,
it's not.
right?
No, you're absolutely right.
It's a big jump from
is.
managed condos. And then would you and Grace, depending on obviously the location, would you manage it yourself or would you hire a property manager?
We it's interesting. We had that conversation. I think initially we would hire a property manager. And that's what we did with our single, our one bedrooms. We hired someone, learned the ropes, and then decided, mutual agreement, with them. And we said, because we had a contract with these people, and we said, at the end of the contract, we're not going to renew. Here's our reason. We'll probably end up hiring a professional property manager, and then we'll take it over because we've got more time. Yeah,
and especially once it's tenanted the way that you want it to be. If you're going to be doing some renovations, at least it's nice to have someone manage that side of things as well.
Yes.
And there's even on the multifamily side, I find what's going on right now isn't affecting the multifamily side as much because traditionally, these types of investors are okay just to hold on to the property a little bit longer. But there are still some options, especially with rents rising. So that's exciting. Any particular market?
Probably the Toronto or the GTA.
GTA.
The GTA. We wouldn't, now again, I'm hearing rumblings that all this commercial space that's going to be available may be transformed, may be converted into, rental units. So, again, let's keep our ears to the ground. Let's see what's out there. And if it makes sense, we keep saying, if it makes dollars and cents, we're there. So
that's it. At least just run the numbers. It doesn't hurt to get that experience. Have a few performas, contact a few of the listings, and just to see what's there. And I find sometimes, especially with multifamily, you have to ask for the accurate, the accurate rents that they're getting, and the accurate scope of the tenant or the profile of the tenants. Because sometimes what happens is you'll see a good deal, and the package that they send you is based off of today's rents, not the current rents in the home. And if you don't ask the questions, which is it today's rent, is it current rent, what is it? Sometimes they, the listing agent represents the seller at the end of the day. So, they don't mean to be any malicious by any means, but it's just good to know that the whole picture. It's good to know, okay, that's very nice that its current rents could get me this, but how long have the tenants been here for?
Yes.
What are they currently getting? Or do they have any plans on leaving? Have you asked? You got to paint a picture, especially more multifamily than the traditional condos.
Very much so. Yeah.
But even the duplexes, I was running a perform in Hamilton, and I think that's a good market. I had last segment, I had Ronald and Jeannie join us, and what they do is they go through the process of helping investors rezone their properties. And it was a great conversation. And he was talking about Hamilton. Ronald was talking about Hamilton being such a pro-build city. So I find that a lot of investors like it, and because of the price drop, you can get in some duplexes almost $1,000 a month in cash flow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
It is. One thing, sorry, Tyler. One of the things that I wanted to just highlight is we actually do what I call sensitivity testing. So, what if we were to get 90% of the rent, or 80? Like how far, how low can we go? And still cover our expenses. And based on that, we look at it and we say, we're comfortable.
For sure. And it's all about finding the right location. I would imagine for you and Grace, right? It's you can't pick up the home and move it somewhere else. Location is very important there.
It is so true.
And I appreciate again you joining me, Lisa. In regards to joint venture investing and financing, did you find that there were some challenges involved there? Other than obviously you talked about the wall, but I meant like just to build that structure shift there.
So again, it's all about the networking and the strength of your team, right? So we met an amazing banker, a woman, and also an investor at CIBC, who really gave us a lot of insight, and she had pre-approved us for what we could buy, basically. So we went on a shopping spree, which was awesome. Women,
Amazing.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I love Laura and her shoes and her dresses, and she goes on a shopping spree. We went on a real estate shopping spree. So we really didn't hit a lot of the financial hurdles until, like I said, we got to the numbers and
Yeah.
our fifth property, and we hit what I call the financial wall. So
Yeah. But the wall always finds the investor. You always
it
hit it
does.
eventually, and it's just
It does.
how you get through it. And you already
Yep.
kind of touch base, which is maybe bringing another joint venture partner.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
things like that you can kind of get around,
All of that. Yeah.
and to keep investing. And I find that one of the reasons why I like joint venture investing is because you're also sharing the risk too, right? Some of the expenses,
Yes.
the
All of
upfront
it.
costs. And I'm personally okay with sharing the rewards as well on that side, as long as everything's written. And you
Yeah.
guys are doing a great job in
Yeah.
structuring that joint venture. It's really
Thank you.
inspiring
Yeah.
to see. I mean that. And in regards to your, what you're doing on the other side, other than investing, I wanted to touch base on that because it was one of the main reasons why I wanted to bring you on, Lisa. Other than talking about your portfolio, it's always nice to see somebody, have a good foundation with investing that allows them to follow their passion. So why don't we touch base a little bit of what you have on the go on that side?
Well, how much time do I have?
Hey, the space is yours there, Lisa.
So thanks again. Thank you, Tyler, for the opportunity. So one of the things that I've been toying with for probably it's about 15 or 16 years is writing for children. And the age group is between 8 and 12 for a number of reasons. I mean, I raised my kids. They're all young adults. One of our favorite things was just going to the library, picking up books and reading. So we're all strong readers, right? And so I also am a reflector. I was thinking, going through school, the Canadian system, fabulous educational system, but we ended up learning more about places, people, and events of other countries than our own, right? And
Correct.
yet
Yeah.
there's such a wealth of history and important people. It's just the Canadian way, right? We were just very understated.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the spark. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if so basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting one province at a time, selecting a main event, historical event, and writing about it through the eyes of a young family. I mean, it's loosely based on my family, of children that are able to travel back in history and interact with the events or the people of the time. So my first one was the dinosaurs in Alberta. Not many people know we had dinosaurs, right? So the premise there is they visit a museum, the Tyrrell Museum. So again, I'm trying to educate as well as entertain. So they're visiting the Tyrrell Museum, which is a real museum, dinosaur museum in Alberta. One of the little girls gets overcome with emotion, and she ends up transporting to the dinosaur environment 67 million years ago. Right. So, and they end up seeing that an egg vanishes as a result of an earthquake. So the earthquake just, eats up the egg, swallows up the egg, and through the help of her siblings is able to rescue this egg. But their life is in peril as well, right? So that's the premise of the first one. The second one is on the harbor explosion in Halifax in 1917. So there were two large ships that collided, and there was a massive explosion. 25,000 people lost their homes, 9,000 people were hurt, 2,000 people lost their lives. It was an international event. I mean, the States, other parts of Canada, poured all their help in rebuilding and helping, the victims. But I think what really did it for me was the number of children who were blinded as a result of the explosion blowing out the gas lights, because it happened at 9 o'clock in the morning. So these young children are walking to school and were blinded. And it was the beginning of the Canadian National Institute of the Blind. So that's the premise, or sorry, that's the setting. And again, the young family goes, they befriend one of the victims who was blinded by them, and brings them to the hospital and things of that nature. So a lot of compassion, a lot of cooperation.
And you're referencing Canadian history, and I think
Canadian
that's
history, absolutely, yeah. So it's a historical fantasy is really the genre,
yeah.
and yeah. So the first two are published and out through
And
online
then when
channels.
you're and I'm sorry for cutting you off, when you're actually writing the first and the second book,
Mhm.
did you end up actually going to the museum, for example,
I
or?
did. I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
exciting.
yeah. So the Tyrrell Museum was the spark for the first one. The Maritime Atlantic Museum out in Halifax was the spark for the second one. Yeah. So my next one is on Ontario, and it's the Underground Railroad. So again, just harboring the slaves that were seeking freedom from the States.
Yeah.
And there is a museum, believe it or not, in Buxton, Ontario, that heralds all of that history. And I have yet to visit it. I'm about to go out this summer.
And I'm sure you see some real estate when you're there as well.
Absolutely. So I'm wearing both hats. I go,
That's it.
I'm trying to drag Grace, so that we can kill two birds with one stone. So yeah.
I'm sure Grace is looking forward to the book about Muskoka, maybe, and
Yes.
just
Yes.
seeing all of the real estate on that side as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is, and I'm really happy that you were able to, create this and follow this passion. I could tell just by, you going over the first two books how passionate you are about it, and I can't wait to hear about the third book as well.
Yeah.
Did you find, this is just, I'm always interested in the back end systems of all businesses,
Mhm.
and you're the first published author that I'm speaking with in regards to systems. How have you found like that side of the business, just like getting out there and trying to build up the brand for the book?
That is a challenge. So one of the things that you quickly come to the realization is you are the best promoter of your own product.
Yeah.
And we all know that, right?
Yeah.
So I also came to the realization that I much prefer the writing than the actual marketing or promoting. However,
Yes.
having said that, you start small. You
Yeah.
start in your own comfort. So I'm visiting schools, and I'm going in as author visits. So I did one to a summer camp just this past week. And I'm so charged by the enthusiasm and the engagement of these young kids. I was supposed to be an hour and a half in, and they're still asking me all these questions. And how come you wrote it this way, Miss? And why did you do that? And why was it? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've got young authors here. So it
The
was
passion is great for these
amazing,
kids,
just amazing. Yeah,
and the age group too, right? The 8 to 12, like that's such a fun age to be the medium for.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons I selected. I mean, I could have done it for the younger ages. I could have done it for the young adults, which is 14 and above. But for me, that's just the sweet spot. They're just so enthusiastic, and they're so, creative. There's no boundaries. There's, unbridled passion and energy. So yeah, it's been fabulous. So.
And I'm going to include the link here, Stephen, if you don't mind just putting that link into our YouTube chat. And for everyone, there's an Amazon link that's coming, and that's how we can support Lisa. And if you have nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, grandchildren, pick up a book. The Dinosaur Counter is, and I love the cover too.
They did, I worked with an amazing, again, it's all about teams. I don't know. It's all about teams. I worked with an amazing
no matter
artist.
what, yeah.
So that's the first one. And the second one, again, just the harbor. Sorry. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, just a young girl, the explosion in the harbor. Yeah. So again, just it has been another incredible and joyful ride. So
it's you've opened up a new chapter, right, in your business career and in your
Literally.
passion, and it's so inspiring to see, Lisa, and I'm really happy that you took the big step. And I see it with Jazz and with REC, with even the Brunch with REC. Myself, just doing this is out of my comfort zone. And but I feel like, anyways, for me, once you start doing it, you open your mind a little bit more to the different outlets that are there, and you just get excited about it, and you kind of get over the, I don't know if I sound this way, is that going to be okay?
Doesn't matter.
It's we have support, and we want to work with people and surround
it.
ourselves with people that support us. And
Yeah.
I personally try not to care about other people's opinions that don't want to support, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And it's all about, so I mean, one of the biggest things that attracted me to REC Jazz and Sim, it's the philosophy, the pie is big enough, and pay it forward and be kind. And, so they live all of those virtues, and those are the things that, speak to myself and Grace, and absolutely. So why wouldn't we want to be part of this family? So,
and I can't wait till we have family dinners again, and our family are just just events, just so we can see each other in the REC Nation again. And
absolutely.
And it should be soon. I'm trying to get Jazz and Simeon to do an event yesterday, so I'm hoping we do at least one meetup by the end of the year. Would be really nice, just to get everybody in. Not even really talk about real estate. Just get everyone back into the room again. And
well, again, we know each other's families and kids.
Yeah,
we know each other's families, kids, and passions, and yeah. I mean, that's the common link, the real estate, but it goes much beyond that. So
exactly, yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. For everyone who's listening, I know they've gotten value from the joint venture discussions.
Thank you.
The different strategies that you and Grace put into your portfolios, and how you're able to create your passion through investing. And for everyone who's listening, please, if you can, just support Lisa and have a read of the book. I know I'm going to grab one for Nora. She's not quite there yet in age, but at least we can get the collection. How many books did you say the series is?
The aim is to have 13. So I've got 13? 2. Yeah, one in research. So it'll keep me busy for the next 5 or 6 years.
Amazing. Well, Lisa, enjoy your Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And REC Nation, enjoy your Saturdays as well. And I'll see everybody in a month's time. But Jazz and Simeon will be back in 2 weeks with their segment of Brunch with REC. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.